You crossed into the abyss world and became a frail little skeleton. All kinds of undead creatures lurking everywhere have their eyes on you. But instead of panicking, you're getting more and more pumped. And that's all because you've awakened the loot attribute system. Just take down a target, and you can randomly loot an attribute from them. You can even fuse and upgrade these attributes to make yourself stronger and stronger. Just as you're ready to go on a rampage in the abyss world, dreaming of the not-so-distant future, when you'll claim the skeleton throne, a magic circle suddenly appears above your head. In the next second, you find yourself in a totally unfamiliar world. After blankly looking around, it finally dawns on you that you've actually formed a contract with the pretty girl in front of you who's sobbing her eyes out. All right, fine, a contract is a contract. But why the hell are you crying so hard? Do I really look that bad? Times change, fortunes shift. No one stays on top forever. Don't you dare look down on a broke skeleton. Because just 5 minutes ago, Lin Shiyun, the campus beauty from an ordinary family, awakened a hidden class, Contract Summoner. But as everyone knows, the Summoner class is a total money guzzler. Summoning scrolls are way beyond what someone from her background can afford. That's why she's pinning all her hopes on the contract summoning ability unique to her hidden class. With her hidden talent, she can skip using any summoning scrolls and communicate directly with the abyss to randomly select a familiar and form a permanent bond with it, a permanent contract with it. And thanks to her maxed out spirit stat, there's a high chance she can summon an extremely powerful familiar or one with incredible potential from the abyss. This is her one and only shot to turn her fate around. With butterflies in her stomach, Lin Shiyun activates her hidden talent. Immediately, she feels her spiritual power draining away, like a tide. A massive summoning circle materializes instantly, centered on Lin Shiyun. The fluctuations of the summoning circle quickly reach their peak. 2 meters away from Lin Shiyun, a pitch-black summoning gate emerges out of thin air. A vague, colossal shadow can be seen inside, quickly taking shape. The shadow solidifies rapidly, and finally materializes into a physical form. But to everyone's utter disbelief, what steps out is nothing but a dumbfounded skeleton soldier. What? It's a skeleton soldier, the lamest of all undead types? Wasn't this supposed to be a contract summoning? Seriously, if this is all she got, my friend the necromancer can summon an entire army of these. I guess some people are just destined for misfortune. Everyone thought the campus beauty was about to make it big, but she totally flubbed it. A mix of whispers, jeers, and sighs fills the air. Lin Shiyun's eyes go wide, staring at the dumbfounded skeleton soldier in disbelief. I used up the only contract summoning talent I'll ever get in my entire life, and all I summoned is a measly skeleton soldier? Grandma, what do I do? How am I going to cure my little sister's illness? How do I avenge my parents' deaths? In an instant, tears stream down her face, uncontrollably pouring from her eyes. All the hopes that have been keeping her going seem to crumble into dust right at this moment. Her homeroom teacher, standing nearby, gently pats her on the shoulder. Don't cry. The college entrance exam is still a month away. If you keep practicing hard, you still have a chance. You can't give up. If you fall apart, what will happen to your family? What am I supposed to do? What can I do with a skeleton soldier? Lin Shiyun looks up through tear-blurred eyes. The skeleton soldier is still standing there, motionless. It looks so stupid it's ridiculous. In a fit of frustration, Lin Shiyun focuses her mind and hastily sends you back to the abyss. Every extra minute she looks at you feels like a knife twisting in her heart. Soon after, the news that Lin Shiyun, the #1 campus beauty, summoned a skeleton soldier spreads like wildfire. Shortly after, Lin Shiyun is called to the principal's office. As expected, the scholarship, the only source of income for her family, is abruptly cut off. Fortunately, her kind-hearted homeroom teacher pays for her little sister's medical expenses out of pocket and encourages her to ace the college entrance exam so she can join a guild and turn her fate around. With that, a glimmer of hope sparks back to life in Lin Shiyun's heart. Meanwhile, back in the abyss world, you open up your system panel. Cho Yu, skeleton soldier. Race undead, level 1, HP 80. MP 50 ice attack 9 to 12, defense, E attributes. / gray. Splice, gray. At this moment, in the abyss. Many other skeleton soldiers like you are wandering nearby. You notice they all have the exact same attributes as you. You reach out your hand, pick up a rusty iron sword from the ground, and swing it at a fellow skeleton soldier beside you. Ding! You have slain a skeleton soldier. Ding! You have slain a skeleton soldier. You have randomly obtained an attribute. The system notification chimes in your head. You feel a surge of unknown energy flowing into your body, and your body seems to have gotten a tiny bit stronger. Your sword swings pack a little more punch now. You glance at the horde of skeleton soldiers around you, and a surge of excitement wells up inside you. You stumble forward with your bony legs and charge headfirst at the skeleton soldiers nearby. You hack down more than a dozen of them in a row. Suddenly, the notification in your head changes. Ding, your attribute has been upgraded. You have obtained Heavy Slash. A grin tugs at your bony face, and you swing your sword forward instinctively. A loud crack echoes through the air. The two skeleton soldiers within a 2-meter radius can't even withstand the blow. From your sword, they're instantly shattered into pieces all over the ground. I've gotten this much stronger, and my attack range has doubled too. It looks like it won't be long before I level up. You stride forward with your now sturdier, bony steps, and continue your rampage on the surrounding skeleton soldiers. At this moment, Lin Xiun has returned to a modest little house. Hearing the sound of the door opening, her grandmom breaks into a beaming smile. How was it today? Did you finish your class advancement? What class did you get? Looking at her grandma's hopeful eyes, Lin Xiun's heart sinks. She forces a smile and says, "It's pretty good, Grandma. I became a contract summoner. It's a hidden class. That's wonderful. Your parents can finally rest in peace now." Her grandma clasps her hands together and says with overwhelming emotion. Tears of joy glisten in her eyes and roll down her cheeks. Seeing her grandma like this, Lin Xiun's heart aches even more. She pushes open the bedroom door, and a strong smell of medicine hits her face. In the dimly lit room, a thin, delicate figure is lying in bed. Her eyes are tightly shut, and the corners of her mouth twitch slightly. Seeing this, Lin Xiun's face pales instantly. She rushes to the bedside and grabs the girl's hand. She says with a pained voice, "Momo, are you in pain again?" Hearing her voice, the girl struggles to open her eyes and forces a smile for Lin Xiun. "Sis, you're back." "I'm fine, it doesn't hurt." Lin Xiun lifts the corner of the blanket and immediately sees vicious vine-like patterns coiling around her neck. The erosion of the heavenly pearl death seal is getting worse. Now the seal has spread all the way to her neck. Only her head is still untouched. Once it reaches her heart, my little sister will be gone. At this moment, Lin Xiun can no longer hold back her tears, and they stream down her face in floods. "I'm sorry, Momo. Sis is useless. Sis is so useless. Don't cry, sis. It doesn't hurt, Momo is okay." As soon as she finishes speaking, a strange fluctuation suddenly surges from Lin Xiun's body. In the next moment, she levels up directly from level 1 to level 2. "Wow, sis, you're so awesome. You leveled up so fast. Your class must be really powerful, right? How did I level up? I wasn't partying with anyone. I didn't even go grinding in the wild. How could I level up this quickly? What on earth is going on?" She looks herself up and down, wondering if something has gone wrong, but just a moment later, her body suddenly jolted. The feeling of leveling up hit her again. She was already level 3. Lin Xiun finally realized something was seriously wrong. It had barely been any time at all, and she'd leveled up yet again. Lin Xiun glanced at her younger sister and forced a smile. "Sis is a super powerful contract summoner now. Once I level up some more, I'll definitely find a way to fix your heavenly pearl's rigidity." Then Lin Xiun hurried out of the bedroom, ran downstairs and found a hidden empty spot. Lin Xiun had already figured it out. This sudden level up must have something to do with her contracted summon. After all, the two of them shared a mutual feedback link. Lin Xiun immediately activated her summoning ability, and a summoning circle instantly appeared in front of her once more. A moment later, a somewhat dazed skeleton soldier materialized. You holding an iron sword tilted your skull slightly and happened to catch sight of Lin Xiun staring at you. You immediately rolled your eyes and grumbled in annoyance. "I was in the middle of hacking away and having a blast. Why the hell did you summon me here?" You were kind of ticked off right now. You were so close to hitting level 10 when a beam of light engulfed you, and poof, you were back here again. Lin Xiun was also a little confused at this point. She stared at the skeleton soldier in front of her, and it didn't look like any skeleton soldier she'd ever seen before. It seemed to have grown taller, and its bones were sturdier too, especially the soul flames flickering in its eye sockets. They looked way more vivid than before. "What is it doing? Pointing at me? And talking to me?" Lin Xiun tilted her head. She couldn't shake the feeling that this contracted skeleton soldier was probably cursing her out, but she had no proof. All she could see was its jaw moving. She couldn't hear a single sound, and you definitely were cursing her out. But just then you suddenly realized something. You could actually check the other party's stats in reverse, and even block your own stats from her view. And to top it all off, you could choose to terminate the summoning contract and send yourself back to the original abyss. Though what did catch you off guard was something that surprised you a little. You were already level 9, and she was only level 3. Wasn't the feedback supposed to be synchronized? The gap was way bigger than you thought. It must be because the two of you weren't in the same dimension, which caused the feedback effect to be severely reduced. And the reverse was true as well. Having figured it out, you shot Lin Xion a warning glare, then terminated the summoning, and returned to the abyss. Lin Xion's head was instantly filled with question marks. What the heck is going on? Aren't I the contract summoner here? Why is my summon ending the contract on its own? And why can't I see its personal stats? What in the world is happening? A flood of questions bombarded Lin Xion's mind, and she couldn't find any answers. But the one thing she was certain of was that this skeleton soldier was definitely not an ordinary one. Could it be that it wasn't a regular skeleton soldier at all? But even if it was stronger, it was still a skeleton soldier, right? At that thought, she pictured her sister's pained expression, and her heart ached. I can't wait any longer. I have to head out to the wilderness to grind levels as soon as possible. No matter how mysterious this skeleton soldier is, I have to give it a try. This is my only hope. Meanwhile, on the southern wasteland, the area was swarming with newbie players grinding levels. Lin Xion approached several parties, only to find they were all full. She had no choice but to head to the quest hall on the outskirts to post an ad, hoping to find a party that needed an extra member. Just as she was growing anxious, someone in the hall suddenly shouted out loud, "Newbie leveling party! 4 looking for 1, need a priest. We've got a carry to lead the way." Lin Xion's eyes lit up when she heard the shout. She hurried over and asked, "Hi there, I'm a summoner. Can I join your party?" The young warrior who just shouted was about to refuse, but when he turned around and saw Lin Xion's cold, stunning face, he froze for a second. "What kind of summon do you have?" "I'm level 3 already. Think you could take me along?" Lin Xion answered, dodging the question. "You're already level 3? Then your summon must be pretty strong. Come on, I'll take you to meet my sister." Lin Xion nodded and followed the boy out of the quest hall. Not far away stood 2 girls and 1 guy. The boy led Lin Xion over to the party, and everyone turned to look. "Everyone, this is my sister Sume. She's a level 15 warrior. The carry of our team. This is the mage, Wulina. And this is the archer, Zhuanghutu. And this is Lin Xion, a level 3 summoner. I just recruited her." At that moment, the female mage Wulina frowned immediately. "I thought we were looking for a priest. What good is a summoner? Priests are a hot commodity. They're not that easy to find. Besides, she's already level 3. It's not like any random summoner can level up that quickly." The boy Su Xiaoqiang defended Lin Xion. "We're already running late as it is. If we keep waiting, we won't even find a summoner to join us." Wulina was about to say something else, but before she could get the words out, their leader Sume cut her off. "All right, she's in. We're pressed for time. I'll add you to the party." Once the team's carry had spoken, the other 2 didn't dare to say another word. Lin Xion quickly thanked them. "No need for thanks." Sume instructed her, "I don't care how weak or strong your summon is. You have to follow my orders once we're inside. Understood? Let's go. We're heading out now." Soon enough, the group made their way into the wilderness and formed up in their pre-arranged battle formation. Hardly had they arrived when a wild monster popped up, only to be taken down in one sword strike by Sume at the front. When everyone heard the level-up notification chime, grins spread across their faces. "Man, it's the best feeling ever being carried by a pro. Sisu, there are so few monsters here. They're all under level 5, too. This is so boring." Wulina couldn't help but suggest, "Why don't we go deeper inside?" Yeah! I heard the wasteland wolves there are all level 10. If we take down just one of those, it'll give us way more XP than 10 of these weaklings." Zhuanghutu chimed in eagerly from the side. "No can do. Wasteland wolves have crazy high attack power, and they're super fast too. I might not even be able to protect you guys if things go south. But you've already made your first class advancement. Taking on wasteland wolves should be a piece of cake for you, right?" Su Xiaoqiang was also getting tempted. "We'll be super careful. We'll just pull the monsters from far away and kite them. It should be fine, right? Worst case scenario, we just book it back here." As Su Xiaoqiang tried to persuade her, the other two joined in with their agreements. Sume thought it over for a moment, and finally nodded her head. But remember, we're only pulling monsters from a distance. No going deep inside, and no aggroing random monsters unnecessarily. Got it? Everyone promised earnestly. Sume didn't say anything else, and led the group toward the deeper parts of the wilderness. At this moment, Wulina couldn't help but turn to Lin Shiyun and ask, Lin Shiyun, we're heading to the area with the wasteland wolves now. Since you're already level 3, your summon should be able to pull its weight a little, right? You'd better summon it out. It might be able to help. Zhuang Hutu nodded in agreement when he heard that. Exactly, even though our levels are low. We can't just leech off the leader the whole time. We should do our part to help out. Don't you think so? Lin Shiyun knew that at this point, she couldn't hide it anymore, and had to be honest. My summon is a skeleton soldier. Its combat power might be pretty limited. What, a skeleton soldier? You're kidding me, right? Zhuang Hutu's eyes widened. He was utterly shocked. Wulina beside him suddenly slapped her thigh, and realized instantly. I remember now. You're the #1 campus belle from #2 high. The contract summoner, who contracted a skeleton soldier. Zhuang Hutu asked curiously, how did you even get to level 3? Wulina scoffed, need you ask? She must have tricked her way into it somehow. No, I didn't trick anyone! Lin Shiyun's cheeks flushed red with anger. She quickly retorted, I didn't. Then how did you get your level? Enough, everyone quiet down! Sume snapped coldly from the front. Now that we've come this far, we're all teammates in this party. She shot a glance at her brother beside her. Xiaoqiang, fall back. Watch Lin Shiyun's flank. Su Xiaoqiang nodded and stepped back 2 paces. Captain Su, I can actually summon my skeleton soldier. And my skeleton soldier is no ordinary one. Lin Shiyun hurried to explain, but Sume cut her off before she could finish. No need. Against wasteland wolves that are at least level 10, a skeleton soldier won't make much difference. Just make sure you stay safe. Lin Shiyun didn't say a word. She just nodded silently. At the same time, in the Abyss realm, you stood before a pile of shattered skeleton bones and glanced at your status panel Chouyu. Skeleton swordsman. Race undead. Level 12. HP 850. P400. ATK 98 110. Def 12. Traits sword chi. Heavy slash green. Rapid reassembly white. The sword chi heavy slash trait had evolved all the way from basic slash. Unlike the white tier heavy slash, it added a sword key extension effect, making it far more powerful and capable of dealing small area splash damage. As for rapid reassembly, it was the upgraded version of reassembly. If any of your joints got knocked off by a heavy blow, you could quickly locate the missing parts and reattach them. Both of these traits were exclusive to skeleton soldiers. But at this moment, being a mere skeleton soldier was no longer enough to satisfy your ambitions. You immediately strode toward the edge of your territory. As soon as you reached the border, you spotted a brand new type of undead creature. It looked like a skeleton too. But the difference was, it wore a cloak and carried a staff, a skeleton mage, finally a new trait to get. You immediately charged straight at the skeleton mage. The skeleton mage saw you approaching and didn't hesitate to wave its staff. In an instant, a bunch of skeleton soldiers crawled out from the ground and stumbled toward you. You raised your adamantite longsword. You didn't even bother with a slash. You just charged forward recklessly. All the skeletons shattered like dry leaves upon impact. By the time you reached the skeleton mage, it didn't even have time to react. Before you split it in 2 with 1 sword strike. Ding! You have slain a skeleton mage. Stop the XP? Ding! You have slain a skeleton mage. You have randomly obtained the trait, skeleton summoning. Huh, you grinned. Turns out your luck is still going strong. This is just a white tier trait. As a flurry of notifications kept popping up in your mind, you didn't even care about the EXP anymore. All your attention was fixed on the trait. Ding, your trait has advanced. You have obtained skeleton swordsman summoning. Ha ha ha, now that's more like it. You nodded in satisfaction. Meanwhile, deeper in the wasteland, Sume and her party, thanks to their solid tactics, successfully pulled one wasteland wolf after another, with Sume, the level 15 warrior, holding the front line. The other 3 could attack comfortably from behind. They all reached level 3 without breaking a sweat. Their smooth progress made them careless. At that moment, the fireball Wulina hurled suddenly went way off target and instantly landed in the tall weeds far away. Whoosh! A large patch of grass was set ablaze by the fireball. Sume's face paled the moment she saw this. She immediately shouted, "Fall back, quick!" Sure enough, her words had barely left her mouth when 4 more wasteland wolves emerged, one after another on the wasteland. Their low growls echoed all around. Almost simultaneously, they all charged toward the party without hesitation. When Wulina saw so many wolves appearing, she completely panicked. She instinctively tried to run away, but saw that Sume was already pinned down by the earlier wolves and couldn't break free for the life of her. All the wasteland wolves locked onto the group in an instant. They picked up speed in a flash, charging at them far faster than anyone had expected. Sume's heart sank. At this speed, there was no way any of them could escape. It was nothing short of a pipe dream. "Xiaoqiang, hold the line with me! Fight and retreat. Otherwise, we're all gonna die here today." Sume took the frontmost position, watching as 5 wasteland wolves converged into a pack and pounced straight at her. She gritted her teeth, grabbed her sword with both hands, and unleashed a powerful horizontal slash forward. A flurry of damage numbers popped up above the wolves' heads, managing to force them back just barely. The 3 newbies unleashed their strongest attacks at the same time, but unfortunately, the damage they dealt to the wolves was negligible. After 2 rounds of blocking in a row, Sume's full HP had dropped to below half, and her combat effectiveness was severely reduced. At this moment, another 4 or 5 wasteland wolves emerged from the distance, locking onto the group completely. Wulina's vision went dark. She almost fainted from fright. Without a second thought for Sume and Su Xiaoqiang, who were struggling to hold on, she forced her way out of the party and turned to run for her life in the distance. "I don't want to die!" she screamed as she ran. Zhuang Hutu was no fool either. He also forced his way out of the party, gritting his teeth and chasing after Wulina. Most of the wolves' aggro was still on Sume, but the remaining 3 members of the party became the wolves' primary targets. Seeing this scene, Sume knew she was as good as dead. "You two go too. I'll hold them off alone." "No way, sis. With so many wolves, how can you stop them all?" Su Xiaoqiang shouted in desperation. "Shut up. Do you think you can help by staying? Run, now. Don't let me die for nothing." "I'm not leaving!" Su Xiaoqiang yelled stubbornly. He was about to tell Lin Xiun to run too, but when he turned his head, he saw that Lin Xiun hadn't fled at all. Instead, she stood her ground and began casting her summoning spell. "You need to run, hurry!" "It's too late for us now. What good will summoning a skeleton soldier do at a time like this?" Grandma always told me, a person shouldn't be ungrateful. If we're gonna run now, we have to run together. Otherwise, I'll never be able to live with myself. Then the summoning gate appeared. Out of the pitch-black void, you stepped out holding your longsword. You glanced back at Lin Xiun, the campus belle who'd summoned you. Your jaw moved as if you were saying something. It probably wasn't anything nice, and your sudden appearance just happened to catch the attention of one of the wasteland wolves. Without the slightest hesitation, it charged straight at you. With the wolf less than 2 meters away from you, Lin Xiun, who'd just been chewed out by you, couldn't help but scream out loud. "Look out, only then did you turn your head to see the wasteland wolf, rapidly growing larger in your field of vision. You didn't dodge an inch. You simply raised the arm holding your longsword. Under everyone's shocked gazes, you swung your sword down at the wasteland wolf. With a splat, you brought your iron sword down and split the wasteland wolf's skull clean open. A terrifying damage number popped up above the wolf's head in an instant. Then the wasteland wolf let out just one scream and crumpled to the ground. "One hit kill?" Su Xiaoqiang yelled in shock. Out of the corner of her eye, Sume, who witnessed this scene, gasped sharply. He actually one-hit killed a wasteland wolf. Is this even a skeleton soldier? In comparison, Lin Xiun's shock was a little less intense. But even so, as she looked at the seemingly calm skeleton soldier in front of her, she was filled with confusion. Is this guy really just a skeleton soldier? Why does he look taller than before? And stronger, ding. You have slain a wasteland wolf. Gain 15 experience points, ding. Randomly obtained skill, palm tier. Hearing the notification, the dissatisfaction in your heart faded a little. Then, you turned to glance at Lin Xiun, who was standing there dumbfounded. She finally looked a little more pleasing to the eye, and at this moment, you instantly drew the hatred of the other wasteland wolves. Several wasteland wolves roared at the same time, and actually abandoned Sume. Charging straight in your direction. "Get back!" Sume shouted instinctively, but as soon as the words left her mouth, she realized a skeleton soldier probably couldn't understand what she was saying. Facing the several charging wasteland wolves, instead of retreating, you advanced. Grabbing the upgraded Vajra longsword with both hands, you unleashed a powerful sword energy slash. A 2-meter-long blade of sword energy swept across the leaping wasteland wolves. In an instant, scalding hot blood gushed out of the several wasteland wolves out of nowhere. Then they all collapsed to the ground, dead on the spot. At this moment, Su Xiaoqiang stood rooted to the spot like a statue. This was way too shocking. A skeleton soldier could actually unleash sword energy. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never have believed it, that such a skeleton soldier existed in the abyss. At this moment, even Lin Xiun was too shocked to speak. She had thought she was in a hopeless situation, summoning a skeleton soldier on the verge of death to fight with her last ounce of strength. But who would have thought? It hadn't been that long since they last met. This guy not only sliced a wasteland wolf in half with one sword strike, he even one hit killed a whole pack with sword energy. Compared to him, Lin Xiun felt like a complete loser. But at this moment, Sume felt even more like a loser. At level 15, she'd already been worn down to below half health by 4 wasteland wolves. But this skeleton soldier showed up, and one hit killed a whole pack in an instant. Is this something a normal person could do? And it wasn't just her. With such a huge commotion, even Wulina and Zhuanghutu, who were fleeing frantically in the distance, noticed. How is this possible? A skeleton soldier that one hit killed 5 wasteland wolves with a single sword strike. Is this some kind of illusion? Wasn't it said she contracted a useless skeleton soldier? How could he be this strong? It's impossible. He's just a lousy skeleton soldier. How could he hold off so many wasteland wolves? Wulina gritted her teeth and said, and at this moment you didn't need Lin Xiun's control at all, locked onto the several wasteland wolves in front of Sume. Such a good skill. It'd be a total waste not to use it. Then you just took a step forward, dashing forward in a flash, and appeared right in front of them in the blink of an eye, swinging your Vajra longsword repeatedly. With the continuous howls of the wasteland wolves, they were completely wiped out in just a few seconds. How is this possible? Wulina stood frozen in shock at the sight. She couldn't believe it. That slacker campus belle she looked down on the most actually had such a powerful summon. What do we do now? Zhuanghutu watched as the skeleton soldier turned out to be this fierce, and suddenly came to his senses. He had run away earlier, because those guys couldn't handle the wasteland wolves. Now that the wolves were taken care of, the danger of them going back alone was way bigger than sticking with the team. Zhuanghutu and Wulina exchanged a glance, and almost in unison, they charged toward Sume's group. Pride was the last thing on their minds right now, but just as they took 2 steps forward, a wasteland wolf in the distance was startled by their movement and instantly sped toward the 2 of them. Seeing this, Wulina let out a terrified scream on the spot and waved her hand to hurl a fireball spell at it. But to her dismay, she messed up again in her panic and set the wasteland on the other side ablaze. In an instant, 3 more wasteland wolves were roused and charged straight at the 2 of them. This time, Wulina and Zhuanghutu's faces turned ashen. Captain, save me! Save me! One wasteland wolf was already more than they could handle, and now 4 showed up at once. How could the 2 of them stand a chance? We were wrong. We shouldn't have left the team. Captain, don't leave us to die. Wulina sobbed as she ran. We just wanted to survive. We just wanted to live. Lin Xiun, hurry up and send your skeleton soldier to save us. If you save us, I can get my dad to give you tons of money. And me! I can give you money too! Sis, what do we do? It was the first time Su Xiaoqiang had been in such a situation, and he had no idea what to do. He'd resented these 2 ungrateful jerks earlier. They'd stuck around when things were going well, but bolted the second danger hit. Now that they saw the team could handle the crisis, they were shamelessly crawling back. But they were his classmates after all, and it was his first time facing something like this. Su Xiaoqiang had no choice but to look to Sume to make the call. I'm in really bad shape right now. Sume shook her head. Even if we wanted to save them, it's not up to me to decide, she said, glancing at Lin Xiun beside her. It's your call. Lin Xiun turned to look at you standing there. But at that moment, you suddenly moved. You stepped steadily toward the 2 of them. It looked like you were about to rescue them. When Wulina and Zhuanghutu saw this, they instantly saw a glimmer of hope for survival. But then you suddenly swung your sword. Sword energy slash! The explosive force even sliced through the air and struck the ground right in front of them. This sudden move forced the two of them to skid to a halt mid-run, because one more step forward, and they would have been split in two. Before they could even open their mouths, you pointed the tip of your sword at them, as if to warn them, one more step forward, and the next strike will land on you two. Want me to save you ungrateful backstabbers in your dreams? Keep dreaming. You glanced back at the girl surnamed Lin's face, and you knew right away. These two had been sneering at her non-stop before, and you didn't like wishy-washy contractors either. At this point, Lin Shiyun probably understood what you meant. She clearly remembered what her grandma had said. Honesty is often found among humble folk, while betrayal comes from so-called scholars. She hadn't believed it at first. But after seeing Wulina and Zhuang Hutu, she did. Ungrateful traitors deserve what's coming to them. Seeing that Lin Shiyun didn't do a thing to help, and with the wasteland wolves closing in behind them, the two of them completely broke down. Wulina started hurling insults. You useless summoner. Why won't you save me? Just because I said a few things about you? I'll haunt you even if I become a ghost. The wasteland wolves pounced all at once and pinned the two of them to the ground. Heart-wrenching screams and the sound of gnashing teeth echoed one after another. After that, across the entire wasteland, only the sound of the wolves feasting could be heard spreading. You just stood there, waiting for the two of them to draw their last breath, before charging forward again, and sending the wasteland wolves to their deaths in an instant. At this moment, except for Sumei, a bright light suddenly appeared above the heads of the others. They had successfully leveled up. Lin Xian, your skeleton soldier is way too awesome. Su Xiaoqing finally snapped out of it. He didn't want to relive what had just happened in his mind, so he started gushing compliments to Lin Shiyun. These are wasteland wolves we're talking about. We were struggling to take them down together earlier, and he can one-shot them all by himself. Where the hell did he come from? I don't know where he came from either. But he definitely doesn't feel like an ordinary skeleton soldier. All right, now that we've made it through this crisis, let's get out of here right away. Lin Shiyun nodded her head. Even though she'd been mentally prepared for this, it was still a tough pill to swallow experiencing something like this for the first time. She was ready to head back first and deal with everything else later. After all, she was already level 5 now. That leveling speed wasn't slow at all. The three of them reached an agreement and got ready to take a detour out of here. But just as they took 2 steps, they realized something was off, because the skeleton soldier standing there had no intention of moving at all. Hey, let's go! Su Xiaoqiang shouted instinctively. You turned your head to glance at the three of them. Go? Hell no! We finally found some monsters to grind. Where the hell are we going? Then you raised your hand and pointed deeper into the wasteland, and marched straight toward the depths of the wasteland. This left the three of them completely dumbfounded. The three of them were basically drained of all fighting strength at this point. Sumei shot a glance at Lin Shiyun beside her, thinking to herself, isn't that your summon? Why can't you even call the shots with it? But seeing the blank look on Lin Shiyun's face, and the skeleton soldier's human-like behavior earlier, Sumei figured counting on Lin Shiyun was probably a lost cause, so she had no choice but to call out to you. It's not that simple here. Wasteland wolves are pack-type monsters. The deeper you go, the more monsters you'll stir up. There's even a level 20 wasteland chieftain out there. You can't take it on. What? A level 20 wasteland wolf? Su Xiaoqing's face paled as he heard that. But you didn't even bat an eyelid. Not slowing down your pace one bit. Sumei opened her mouth to say something, but ended up letting out a sigh. Let's follow him. Once I recover a bit, even without him, I can get both of you back safely. Lin Shiyun apologized to Sumei. Sorry, Captain. My skeleton soldier's a bit of a loose cannon. No need to apologize. Sumei gave Lin Shiyun a reassuring smile. If it weren't for you, we'd probably be wolf chow by now. I should be the one thanking you. At that moment, as you ventured deeper, sword swinging with every step, the ground was littered with wolf corpses along the way. Before long, you'd reach the very heart of the wasteland. Suddenly, from beneath a raised slope in the distance, an earth-shaking howl rang out. A massive white-furred wasteland wolf let out a deafening roar from atop the slope. Oh no, that's the wasteland chieftain, a level 20 boss. Sumei cried out in alarm, instinctively pulling the other two behind a large boulder for cover. You too had noticed the roaring white wolf. Wasteland wolf chieftain. Race beast. Level 20. HP 100. MP 800. ATK 215, 235. DF 15. Skills, claw laceration. White wolf howl, white wolf charge. Swift sprint. White Wolf Pack command. Glancing at the chieftain's green skills, you grinned, then suddenly kicked off the ground with explosive force. You surged forward at blistering speed, charging straight for the wolf chieftain. How did he get so fast all of a sudden? Sume and Su Xiaoqiang exclaimed in unison, their faces filled with shock. Lin Xiun's clear eyes were also clouded with confusion. Why does his speed boost feel just like the wasteland wolves? Your sudden burst of speed triggered an instinctive sense of danger in the wolf chieftain. Instead of rushing to attack, it opened its maw and let out another long, piercing howl. One after another, wasteland wolves emerged from all around, then launched a ferocious charge at you. But this time was different. Instead of just 3 or 5 wolves ganging up, dozens of wolves came swarming from every direction, at least 20 in total. The sight made Sume and the other two turn pale with fright. Holy crap, how can he take down this many? No way! Your skeleton soldier can't hold them off. We need to get ready to retreat soon. Aren't we going to help him, Captain? Lin Xiun asked anxiously. Even a fierce tiger can't fight a pack of wolves. Besides, your summon is just a skeleton soldier. Sume explained quickly. See? The wolf chieftain isn't even lifting a paw. It's saving its strength to wear him down with the pack first. Let's get ready to run. You're the summoner. Even if your summon gets destroyed, you can just revive it in your summon space later. Lin Xiun bit her lip, watching the pack of wolves closing in. She desperately wanted to help, but felt completely useless, unable to think of a single way to assist, even though she knew her summon could be revived if it died. But she still couldn't help but feel a little worried. Sume beside her had already drawn her longsword, waiting for the moment the two sides engaged in close-quarters combat, to take the two of them and leave together. However, just as the pack of wolves was about to complete the encirclement, you suddenly came to a halt. Oh, so you want to fight me with numbers, huh? Then you suddenly slammed your longsword into the ground. Skeleton swordsman summon, activate. In an instant, the ground within a 10-meter radius, the moment Zhou Yu's longsword pierced it, started shaking violently in the blink of an eye. Then, under the shocked gazes of Su Mei and the other two, skeleton swordsmen wielding Vajra longswords kept crawling out from underground one after another. What? He can summon too? Su Xiaoqiang almost popped his eyes out of their sockets. Su Mei was equally shaken to the core. Where on earth did he come from? This is a skill only skeleton mages can cast. How does he know it? I have no idea. Lin Xiun's mouth dropped open in shock. She knew her skeleton soldier might be out of the ordinary, but she never thought he could be this powerful. Is he a warrior or a mage exactly? And the skeleton soldiers he summoned are this strong too. But it only took a split second. Nearly 30 skeleton swordsmen completely held back the onrushing wasteland wolf pack. Judging by the way things are going, it won't be long before the wolves are completely wiped out. At this moment, you stood amidst the skeletons, like a skeleton king who held everything in his grasp. You turned your head to look at the wasteland wolf leader, who was equally stunned by this sight. Then you stamped your bony white foot and accelerated your figure once again. A flash of sword light flickered in your hand. Heavy sword slash. Activate instantly. A sharp sword chi shot forth, charging straight at the wasteland wolf leader. The wasteland wolf tensed its 4 limbs, its fur standing on end all over its body, letting out a low growl from its throat, and vanished from where it stood in the next moment. The sword chi swept across powerfully, at the spot where it had been standing, leaving a noticeable gash behind. Swift sprint, huh? You think you're the only one who knows that? In the next second, your speed skyrocketed, anticipating the wolf leader's landing spot, and slashing your sword at it once more. The longsword sliced across the wasteland wolf's body. A string of bright red damage numbers popped up above its head. 278. Whoa, that's such a high normal attack. Su Xiaoqiang was blown away by that insane damage output. But what he didn't know was, the reason you could unleash such a powerful normal attack wasn't because your base attack was high enough, but because you had fused the wasteland wolf's trait, claw laceration, which could add a laceration effect to your attacks. With both effects stacking up, it could totally deal a decent amount of bonus damage. That's why you were so confident to face the wasteland wolf head-on. Both of you had the boost of swift sprint. The wasteland wolf leader couldn't shake you off. And so, such a scene unfolded across the vast wasteland. A skeleton soldier wielding a longsword, chasing the wasteland wolf leader all over the place. And the wolf leader's shrill howls echoed from time to time. The 3 of them were already numb with shock at this sight. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they would never have believed it. That a skeleton soldier could grow this strong, and at this moment watching Its HP dropped below half. The Wasteland Wolf Leader suddenly let out a long howl. Skill! Wolf's Howl, activate! Then you saw the Wolf King's eyes seemed to turn blood red, and its aura became even stronger than before. Amplification, you instantly realized. This was some kind of amplification skill similar to Berserk. After being amplified, the Wasteland Wolf Leader glared at you fiercely, let out a low snarl, and charged straight at you. Its speed was obviously a notch faster than before. Oh no! That's the Wasteland Wolf Leader's amplification skill, Wolf's Howl. Sumei's expression changed drastically. At his current level, he's probably close to reaching level 23. What? A 3-level jump just like that? Su Xiaoqiang's face paled. How can we fight this? It's not a sustained skill. This state can only last for a very short time. As long as he can hold on through the leader's burst phase, he'll be able to find an opportunity to counterattack. Before the two of them could finish talking, they heard Lin Shi. Yun let out a scream. When Sumei looked over again, she saw that the Wasteland Wolf Leader's first burst attack had actually hit the skeleton soldier in the blink of an eye, shattering his sword-wielding arm into pieces with a single claw swipe. No one saw this coming. The skeleton soldier who had been dominating the fight took such a devastating hit in the blink of an eye. I gotta help him. Su Xiaoqiang reacted instinctively and was about to rush out, but he barely stood up when Sumei grabbed him. Don't be reckless. Gritting her teeth, Sumei stood up from behind the rock, long sword in hand, and sprinted straight toward the Wasteland Wolf Leader. At that moment, only one thought crossed Sumei's mind. Even if she could buy just a few extra seconds for the skeleton soldier to get back on his feet, they could still turn the tables. The Wasteland Wolf Leader, having landed a successful strike, let out an excited howl. Finally, it was time for its counterattack. It slammed you to the ground with a single swipe of its sharp claws, shattering your thigh bones into pieces. Seeing you trying to struggle, the Wolf King seized the chance instantly, pinned you down with a paw. The Wasteland Wolf opened its jaws wide, its sharp fangs glinting with bloodlust, and was about to sink them into your skull. Just then, Sumei, who'd been rushing over from afar, finally drew near. She raised her longsword high. I've got you. The longsword stabbed the Wasteland Wolf Leader right in the head, but it only dealt less than 50 damage. The Wolf Leader's head barely even jolted, before it continued lunging at you without missing a beat. Watching this scene, Su Xiaoqiang and Lin Shiyun felt their hearts sink to their stomachs. But in the very next second, all three of them were left dumbfounded, because they saw your skull twist into what looked like a mocking grin. Then the scattered bones lying around you started flying back at an eerie speed, reassembling themselves into a perfectly intact skeleton in the blink of an eye. And now that you were fully restored, you were facing exactly the Wasteland Wolf Leader's soft underbelly. In an instant, you unleashed another heavy sword chi slash, which exploded forth from your longsword. The Wasteland Wolf didn't even have time to react. Before its underbelly was torn open by the sword chi, its body went flying backward, slamming hard into the ground nearby. Its HP bar emptied completely. Ding! You have slain a Wasteland Wolf Leader. Experience points plus 169. Ding! You have randomly obtained a trait. Wolf Pack Domination. Wolf Pack Domination. Green. Absolute control over Wasteland Wolves. 30% suppression effect against all wolf-type monsters. A smile spread across your face when you heard the notification. It was worth luring the enemy in deeper. You really did get a green trait. Then you climbed to your feet as if nothing had happened. Glancing sideways, you saw Sumei standing there dumbfounded. You shot her a disdainful look and walked off into the distance, leaving Sumei standing there, frozen in place, totally dumbfounded. This skeleton actually knows tactics? Did he purposely trick the Wolf Leader into getting close?
Su Xiaoqiang voiced his guess.
Sumei let out a bitter laugh. We were all fooled by him. She turned to Lin Shiyun, the envy in her eyes almost impossible to hide. Your skeleton soldier must have the ability to reassemble its body quickly. It purposely let itself take a devastating hit, luring the Wasteland Wolf Leader in close, then regenerated in an instant to land a killing blow. And what's more, it even targeted the wolf's weakest spot, its belly. The more Sumei thought about it, the more incredible it seemed. Seeking out the enemy's fatal weakness, that part makes sense. But going up against a skeleton soldier and having to look for its weaknesses, what the hell is the difference between him and a human being? How on earth did he pull that off? Su Xiaoqiang finally processed what had happened and exclaimed in shock along with her. Lin Shiyun stared at Zhou Yu, who was still mowing down monsters not far away. and muttered, "I really have no idea." At first, she thought he was just an ordinary skeleton soldier, but after she leveled up out of nowhere, she'd felt something was off. But she never could have imagined he could be this terrifyingly powerful. That was a level 20 wasteland wolf leader, for crying out loud. Lin Xion felt like she couldn't even begin to understand this summoned skeleton of hers, and at that moment, you were experimenting with the new green trait you'd just obtained. Any wasteland wolf within a certain radius would come trotting over obediently at your command, then stick their necks out, waiting for you to finish them off with a single sword strike. And that wasn't all. You were trying to upgrade the traits you'd acquired. You opened your status panel and saw that you'd already accumulated quite a few traits. Heavy sword chi/, green, rapid reassembly, white, skeleton. Swordsman summon, green, claw laceration, white. Wolfpack domination, green, swift sprint. Sigh. Too bad the wolf's howl buff only exists on the leader. You hadn't gotten it when you killed the leader earlier. So now you had to upgrade claw laceration and swift sprint to blue tier traits. After all, the monsters here respawned endlessly. You wanted to see just how much of a power boost you could get in the end. When you went back to the abyss, you'd definitely be able to conquer a territory of your own. Next up, you kept wandering around the wasteland, using the Wolfpack domination skill to lure wasteland wolves to their deaths, watching the skeleton soldier keep going non-stop, even waiting around for the monsters to respawn. Su Xiaoqiang thought for a moment, then couldn't help but whisper to his sister, Sissy. How much longer is he going to keep killing? Su Xiaoqiang pointed at himself. My experience points are already maxed out. I'm already level 10. I can go to the job change shop and make my first class advancement now. Hearing this, Sume glanced down at her own status too. She'd leveled up 3 times just by tagging along, power leveling others, and he didn't even lift a finger himself, yet he still got 3 free levels out of it. Who's really the one getting carried here? Then she turned to look at Lin Shiyun, who was deep in thought beside her. Shiyun, do you know how long he plans to stay? I don't know. When Lin Shiyun heard this question, she felt a surge of frustration well up inside her. A summoner who can't control her own summon. Where do you even go to complain about that? Sume could tell, too, that Lin Shiyun probably couldn't control the skeleton soldier's will at all. She could only sigh and say, guess we'll just wait a bit longer then. Finally, after a few more moments passed. Ding! Trait fusion complete. Obtained Claw Smash. Claw penetration blue, Gale Wolf step blue. You finally stopped when you heard the notification. A satisfied smile on your face. All that effort. And you'd finally upgraded those 2 traits to blue tier. Claw penetration granted even stronger attack power and bonus damage, with an 8% chance to land a critical hit, dealing 150% damage. Once Gale Wolf step was activated, it could greatly boost your movement speed and grant a temporary penetration effect, meaning you could ignore collision volume. Seeing this, you grinned widely. Both critical hits and collision ignore were god-tier skills for you. Absolute game changers. If you went back to the abyss now, you'd definitely be able to rule the roost. Then you turned around and walked back toward Lin Shiyun. This place is pretty good. Next time you find another spot like this, call me again. You gestured at the wasteland around you and all the corpses lying on the ground. But don't call me over for stupid stuff. It's a waste of my leveling time. Or I'll beat you up. You made a playful fist-pumping gesture. Then a light flashed beneath your feet, and you vanished without a trace. And just like that, he was gone. Su Xiaoqiang stared at the spot where the skeleton had vanished, and stammered blankly. So, what do we do now? When Lin Shiyun heard that, tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. She felt so wronged. In the end, he'd just left her behind anyway. Overwhelmed by grief and anger, she summoned a burst of courage out of nowhere and activated the summoning spell without hesitation. She decided to fight back. She couldn't go on like this. She had to ask him face to face what the hell he was thinking. Who exactly was the summoner here, him or her? The summoning portal opened wide, and you were summoned back once again. Suddenly, you saw Lin Shiyun storming toward you quickly. What on earth do you want? What did I ever do to offend you? You just leave whenever you feel like it. Lin Shiyun choked out, her voice thick with tears. Which one of us is the actual summoner here, huh? Don't you realize we're stuck in the middle of a wasteland? How are we supposed to get back safely now that you're gone? Do you want me to die out here? If you want me dead, then just kill me already, will you? Sume and Su Xiaoqiang stared at Lin Shiyun, dumbfounded. Watching her, they suddenly had the weirdest feeling. This clearly should have been an argument between a summoner and her summon, so why did it feel more like a wife complaining to her husband? You fell silent for a moment, then suddenly reached out and pulled out your longsword. Lin Xiun paled in fright instantly and took a step back instinctively. But she soon realized you weren't going to attack her. Instead, you pointed the tip of the sword at yourself, then shifted it to point at her. After that, you flicked it towards Su Mei and Su Xiaoqiang before slashing it hard downward, against the ground beneath your feet, leaving a deep, clear sword mark. Before Lin Xiun could even process what was happening, you vanished once again. Are you kidding me? I'm pressed for time. Who has the leisure to escort them back? Besides, didn't I already tell them why I was leaving earlier? Could they really not get it? As you disappeared for the second time, only the howling wind swept across the desolate wasteland. He actually dared to warn me. Lin Xiun felt utterly unable to accept it. That skeleton of yours is pretty awesome. Just a little bit stubborn, that's all. Su Xiaoqiang piped up. I don't think that's what he meant. Su Mei's words made the other two turn to look at her. He pointed at the three of us. I think he was trying to say we can make it back on our own. You mean he was telling us that with our current strength, we can get out of the wasteland easily now? Lin Xiun finally caught on. The lowest level among the three of us is already level 10. Our combat power is worlds apart from when we first got here. If we really try to head back, it actually shouldn't be a problem at all. Then why did he slash his sword at the ground at the end? Lin Xiun was still confused. That slash was definitely a warning, Su Mei mused, telling you not to bother him again. Now that they'd realized how much their strength had grown, Lin Xiun and the other two wasted no more time lingering. They left the wasteland as quickly as they could, planning to head straight for the Job Change Temple to complete their first-class advancement. Meanwhile, in the abyss, 1331 or 30 on 27,800. There are 30 or 29,800. You felt the familiar undead energy surging around your feet. A wave of comfort washed over you. Nothing beats being home? You sighed contentedly, your gaze sweeping across the surroundings. The skeleton mages in the distance still hadn't recovered from the shock of your sudden appearance. 1339, Euro 30, 36, 933, Euro 30, 38, 2166. Having nearly reached level 20 yourself, you were certainly not going to pass up this perfect chance to level up. You waved your hand majestically and drove your Vajra longsword straight into the ground. Skeleton swordsman summon! 30 skeleton swordsmen crawled out from underground one after another. Then you strode forward, charging straight toward the skeleton mages. Seeing this, the skeleton mages in the distance raised their staffs in response and began summoning hordes of skeleton soldiers to meet your attack. Under your meticulous command, the 30 skeleton swordsmen moved like a solid iron wall advancing sideways wherever they passed. Countless skeleton soldiers were crushed without mercy. You leisurely followed behind them, watching the skeleton mages hurling netherfire attacks non-stop, and muttered softly to yourself, Netherfire Blast is just a mage's basic attack, nothing special. Too bad its damage output is just too low, unless I can fuse enough traits to boost it to a much higher tier. Your gaze swept over the endless hordes of skeleton mages. If I can conquer this entire territory, I should be able to make it happen, right? But to your surprise, before long, instead of a trait upgrade notification, you got a level up prompt instead. Congratulations, you've reached level 20 and advanced unlocked heavy armor skeleton swordsman form. Before you could even process it, a strange glow burst forth from within your bones. In the next instant, your entire form began to evolve. First, your bones started to grow thicker and taller. Your original 1.8 meter frame, fueled by this new power, shot up to over 2 meters tall. Your bones became more than twice as dense as before, their texture far tougher and more resilient, clinking with a sound like forged steel when tapped. But the changes didn't stop there. This time, you were no longer just a bare skeleton. Instead, a full suit of armor, as tough as Vajra, encased your entire body, weighing heavy like a mountain of solid metal. Your already sharp and sturdy Vajra longsword lengthened once more, looking far more imposing and weighty. And that's not all. A massive shield, half your height, materialized in your other hand. At this point, a complete set of heavy battle armor had you armed from head to toe. The sheer weight of this armor alone was enough to make even seasoned warriors gasp in awe. Even for someone as powerful as you could feel its immense heft. Luckily, with just a thought, You could store the armor into your system inventory and summon it back onto your body whenever you needed it. From a distance, you no longer looked like a mere skeleton soldier at all. Instead, you exuded an aura of icy coldness and iron-blooded ferocity. After getting used to it for a moment, you put the armor away. It was just too heavy. Wearing it for too long would drain your stamina. Then, you waited quietly as your skeleton swordsman cleared the territory. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, you heard another notification chime. Ding. Your traits have fused successfully. You have obtained Netherflame Detonation and Echoing Rock Blast. Summons 3 consecutive, highly destructive echoing rock fireballs that strike the target and trigger an explosive effect on impact. Echoing Rock inflicts Soul Burn, 15% chance to stun the target for 1 second. Nice. At long last, I've got a ranged attack skill. Up until now, most of your traits had leaned heavily toward close quarters combat. Against ranged opponents, you'd always been at a disadvantage, with no surefire countermeasures. But now that problem was solved. With this blue-tier Netherflame Detonation, your lack of ranged capabilities was finally remedied. But before you could savor the joy of this fusion, a sudden fluctuation from the distance caught your attention. Your eyes narrowed sharply. You noticed that some of your 30 summoned skeleton swordsmen were being destroyed. Curious, you strode quickly toward the front line where your skeleton swordsmen were pushing forward. Soon enough, you spotted a skeleton mage, who was clearly far more powerful than the others. At that moment, it was not only waving its staff to summon more skeleton soldiers, but also unleashing volley after volley of netherfire-infused fireballs. Drawing on your experience with the Wasteland Wolf Leader, you instantly realized this must be a boss-level monster born from the Skeleton Mage Horde. Skeleton Mage Leader. Race Undead. Level 20. HP 1200. MP 1500. ATK 150, 175. Def 10. Traits Skeleton. Summon White. Reassembly Gray. Netherfire Blast Green. Skeleton Mage Domination Green. Seeing its list of traits, you suddenly grinned. No wonder it evolved into a leader-class monster. It's all thanks to the damage from Netherfire Blast. If its Netherfire Blast is this powerful, then my Netherflame Detonation must be even stronger. You immediately decided to test your Netherflame Detonation against this formidable foe. When the Skeleton Mage Leader saw Zhou Yu, it froze for a split second. Then, it let out a roar that even caught you off guard. Foolish skeleton swordsman, you dare to invade my territory? Prepare to leave your bones here forever. Invade you? You shot at a challenging glare. That is, if you have what it takes to stop me. Since you're so arrogant and foolish, I'll make you taste the agony of your soul being incinerated. The Skeleton Mage Leader raised its staff high and hurled a Netherfire Blast straight at you. But before its fireball could even land, you just smiled faintly, lifted your hand and pointed. Netherflame Detonation, activate. A fireball 3 times the size of its attack materialized out of thin air. Then it streaked across the sky like a meteor, hurtling straight toward the enemy. How is this possible? At that moment, the once arrogant Skeleton Mage Leader was overcome with terror. It couldn't make sense of it. How could a mere melee skeleton swordsman summon such a massive fireball? What's more, the flames burning within it made the Skeleton Mage Leader feel like it would be reduced to nothing but ash. A deafening explosion rang out, and a wave of skeleton soldiers fell like wheat before a scythe. As for the Skeleton Mage Leader, without those skeleton soldiers blocking the blast, it would have been utterly annihilated by that single fireball. But as soon as it lifted its head, it saw a second and third fireball tearing through the air, coming right on the heels of the first. No, I surrender! I submit to you. It dropped to its knees instinctively, sending out mental waves with all its remaining strength. The instant those mental waves washed over you, the 2 fireballs soaring through the air suddenly veered off course, crashing into a distant valley instead. And at that moment, you were already standing before the kneeling Skeleton Mage Leader, looking down at it and said, "Hand over your soul fire." Soul fire is a unique soul flame exclusive to the undead race. It is the very essence of an undead soul. Once surrendered and taken under another's control, it signifies unwavering loyalty and submission, even in death. Betrayal is impossible. Shortly after you sent out your mental command, the Skeleton Mage Leader lifted its head, and from its empty eye sockets, a faint, eerie green flame detached itself, floating gently toward you. You opened your jaw and swallowed the flame whole, The system automatically marked it as your subordinate. Soon, a feeling of absolute control over its life and death welled up within you, and in the skeleton mage leader's eyes, a strange light flickered to life, as if a sense of genuine loyalty and submission had taken root in its soul. You waved your hand casually, signaling it to stand up. Tell me, what do you know about this abyss? Master, please follow me. The skeleton mage leader bowed deeply to you and said, immediately, the surrounding skeleton soldiers parted to the sides. Only then did you see, at the far end of the valley, where the ground was paved with countless white bones, a throne crafted entirely from bleached white skeletons came into view. You strode straight up to the throne, turned around and sat down, looking at you sitting there like a noble lord. From now on, your name shall be Avanti. Avanti? Thank you for bestowing a name upon me, master. Now, tell me everything you know about this abyss. Upon hearing this, Avanti lifted its head. This abyss has existed for countless eons. It is said that in the deepest depths of the endless abyss, there are 7 mysterious beings who rule over this entire world, and they are all plotting to break free from the abyss and conquer a brand new world. Is it the world I was summoned to? You stroked your chin, a thoughtful look on your face. The place we are in now is a region called the Necromancer Valley. The undead that gather here are mainly skeleton mages and skeleton soldiers. What lies beyond this valley? Have you ever been there? I have, my master. Fear flickered in the flames of Avanti's soul fire. I almost died out there. I barely made it back alive. Your interest was instantly piqued. What kind of place is it outside? What's there? Beyond the valley lies a place called the Frozen Graveyard. It is swarming with ghouls. They are incredibly powerful. A single ghoul only has the strength of a level 15 combatant. They are no match for my army of skeletons. As he spoke, the flame in Avanti's soul flickered. But among them, there is a ghoul lord who has already reached level 30. His defense and magic resistance are so overwhelming that even I feel nothing but despair just looking at them. Back then he spotted me, and the entire ghoul army swarmed out at once. They almost tore me to shreds. If I hadn't tricked him with a bunch of skeleton mages as decoys, I would never have made it back alive. At that moment, the soul flame in your eye sockets flickered, and a look of interest crossed your face. If I can kill him, I'll definitely reap a huge reward. Master, that idea is far too dangerous. He is an invincible being. You pushed yourself up from the throne and stood. Then I have even more reason to go see for myself. Lead the way, Avanti. Master, you can't be serious. Are you defying my warning? The soul flame in Joyu's eye sockets flared up violently, instantly making Avanti feel like death was staring him in the face. Forgive me, master. I dare not. I'll lead the way at once. Soon after, you arrived at an open plain. In the far distance, you could faintly see a black forest towering in the distance surrounding the area. Avanti lifted his staff and pointed in a direction, signaling that was the lair of the ghoul lord. And so, you reached out and drew the longsword hanging at your waist, then slammed it hard into the ground. Skeleton swordsman summon, activate. Immediately, skeleton swordsmen armed with longswords crawled out of the earth one after another and marched forward toward the frozen graveyard in large strides. Before long, the mist suddenly grew thick and dense. Low growls and roars echoed continuously from within the dense fog as the sounds drew closer and closer. In the next moment, crawling creatures that looked like flayed humans burst out of the fog all at once, scrambling on all fours. They raced forward across the ground. At that moment, Avanti beside you raised his staff high without hesitation and summoned skeleton soldiers one after another in quick succession. At the same time, the skeleton mages you'd brought along also began their summoning. More and more skeleton soldiers appeared, like a vast, surging ocean, slowly surging forward toward the enemy. Hundreds upon hundreds of them. The ghouls soon collided head-on with the sea of skeletons. From the very first clash, it was crystal clear that there was a massive gap between the two sides. A huge disparity in power. Almost instantly, you watched as a ghoul raised its clawed arm and tore the skeleton soldier in front of it to pieces. Before the skeleton soldier could even struggle to reassemble its shattered body, the ghoul crushed its skull beneath its foot. In the span of just a few seconds, a single ghoul was enough to completely annihilate 4 or 5 skeleton soldiers. But skeleton mages have always relied on the sheer numbers of their sea tactics. More often than not, before a ghoul could take even a few steps forward, it would be swarmed and surrounded by more skeleton soldiers. And from behind the front lines, the staves in the hands of the many skeleton mages unleashed a relentless barrage of attacks, the magical damage of Netherfire Blast, when concentrated in sufficient numbers, gradually whittled away at the ghouls' health bars. Originally at this rate, the battle between the skeleton mages and the ghouls would have turned into a long, drawn-out war of attrition, but the addition of the skeleton swordsmen was more than enough to turn the tide of the battle. Their explosive damage output was something even the tough ghouls couldn't withstand. Soon enough, casualties began to mount among the ghoul ranks, watching as the skeleton swordsmen teamed up with the skeleton mages to continuously inflict heavy damage on the ghouls. Avanti's eyes showed no trace of relief whatsoever. Instead, he grew more and more nervous, because he knew it wouldn't be long before the commotion aroused the ghoul lord's attention, and that would be when the real danger began, just as he'd feared. Right when the ghouls started to show signs of losing ground, from within the dense fog, a terrifying roar shook the air, echoing far and wide. A massive black shadow loomed larger and larger as it charged out of the mist, a towering height of nearly 3 meters, a bulky, muscular body like a licker's, thick, powerful arms woven with veins and rotting flesh on its tattered, decayed head, a mouth full of jagged fangs that stretched across half its face. At the sight of him, Avanti collapsed to the ground in terror. But when you saw the trait information of the Ghoul Lord pop up, you grinned so wide with excitement that your back molars were visible. Piece by piece, your steel armor materialized on your body. Then you drew your sword and charged toward the Ghoul Lord in a frenzy of excitement. And as you activated Swift Sprint, your speed skyrocketed in the blink of an eye. Clad in armor like a heavy tank, you slammed head-on into the Ghoul Lord with a thunderous crash. As the impact exploded outward, the powerful recoil sent you sliding backward across the ground, nearly 2 meters, but you were by no means at a disadvantage, because the powerful impact from your shield had shattered the Ghoul Lord's defenses and triggered the critical hit chance of your claw penetration trait, slashing his HP down to half in one go. The Ghoul Lord let out a roar of agony, his bloodshot eyes filled with shock and disbelief. At that moment, you quickly drew the broad greatsword from your back with one hand and unleashed heavy sword slash without hesitation. A wild, ferocious burst of sword chi exploded forth, once again sending a string of blood-red damage numbers popping up above his head. After these 2 devastating strikes, the Ghoul Lord's HP was reduced to a mere third of its original value. Instead of counterattacking, the Ghoul Lord slammed both hands hard against your shield, forcing it out of the gap it had torn in his flesh, then kicked you hard in the chest, sending you staggering back 3 steps. And taking advantage of this opening, the Ghoul Lord raised both hands high and let out a heart-wrenching roar. The moment the roar erupted, his aura began to surge at a visible rate, his blood-soaked muscles bulging and swelling, his fangs and claws growing even longer and sharper. This is unholy frenzy. You paused for a brief moment, and a flash of delight surged in your eyes, because this unholy frenzy wasn't just a single target skill, it was an area of effect ability. Because the ghouls surrounding the Ghoul Lord seemed to be affected by his roar as well. Their strength also began to surge dramatically. A rough estimate put their power boost at nearly 30%. And as for the Ghoul Lord himself, his power had skyrocketed by a staggering 50%. The next second, its colossal body comes charging straight at you, closing in on you in the blink of an eye. Then it unsheathes its scythe-like claws, ready to tear you to shreds. But just then, your body, in the span of a heartbeat, suddenly shifts into an ethereal state, swooshing right through the Ghoul Lord without a hitch. The Ghoul Lord, caught off guard from losing its target, tumbles off balance, thrown by its own immense inertia, crashing heavily to the ground. Before the Ghoul Lord can even recover, 3 ghostly green fireballs, each bigger than a human head, come raining down one after another. 3 deafening booms ring out, and its health bar is instantly drained to 0. Ding! You have successfully slain a Ghoul Lord. Experience +419. Ding! You have randomly obtained the trait Evil Frenzy. Evil Frenzy boosts your own attack power by 50% for a short time. Increases attack speed by 30%. Targets within the area of effect gain a 30% attack power bonus and a 15% attack speed bonus. Attack speed bonus. You hear the notification, and you're over the moon. It's like you got exactly what you wished for, scoring the blue tier trait you wanted the most right off the bat. At that moment, Afanti in the distance stares in shock, his jaw practically hitting the floor. One-shotting a Ghoul Lord. How could such a monster exist among skeleton soldiers? You don't have the time to explain to him, because besides the Ghoul Lord's blue tier trait, you need to collect every other trait as well. So you spend the next few hours wiping out every last ghoul in the area. Not only did you get the 2 pieces of gear dropped by the slain lord, but all the ghoul traits you collected have also fused and upgraded to green tier. Giant Strength, green ultimate. Tenacity, green ultimate. Corpse Feast, green ultimate. As you glance at your growing list of traits, a satisfied smile tugs at your lips. You were planning to take a short break. When the summoning array reappears above your head, what the heck does that brat want now? When you rematerialize, you find yourself not in some monster-infested area, but in a mysterious-looking grand hall. You glance around the room and spot Lin Xiun staring at you nervously. Anger instantly surges up inside you.
You lift your hand
And flick her hard on the forehead. Lin Xiun yelps in pain, clutching her head with both hands, tears streaming uncontrollably down her cheeks. Why'd you hit me? Didn't I tell you not to bother me unless it's important? You curse instinctively, before remembering you can't speak. So you turn to point at the hall. Then at Lin Xiun, shoot her a warning glare and turn to leave. As the teleportation runes begin to glow, Lin Xiun forgets her grievance in a hurry, grabbing your arm tightly. Where are you going? You glare at her, about to push her away. Sister Sue told me. We can go dungeon crawling at this stage. Dungeons are really dangerous. So I wanted to ask for your opinion. After listening to Lin Xiun's explanation, you stroke your chin deep in thought. Dungeons are basically monster lairs on steroids. If you can clear one, you'll probably bag a ton of new traits. Plus, every dungeon has a boss, on par with the ghoul lord you just took down, maybe even with rarer, better traits up for grabs. All right, this place is worth a shot. Seeing you nod your head, Lin Xiun is practically on the verge of tears of joy. It felt just like when your parents finally let you go out and have fun. Summon me when you get there. Don't bother me otherwise. You flick her forehead hard again, no holds barred, then vanish without looking back. Now that you've made up your mind to go dungeon crawling, Lin Xiun doesn't linger, hurrying straight back home. She's not just going to check on her little sister and grandma. More importantly, she made a pretty penny from the materials looted off the prairie wolves. With that money in hand, first thing Lin Xiun does is rush to buy the best painkillers she can find, buy the best painkillers available. Meanwhile, in the most prime location in Hanqing, inside a lavish standalone mansion, a furious roar echoes through the halls. I told her not to team up with that Sume in the first place, but she wouldn't listen. And now this mess, that Sume is nothing but trouble. Damn it! How come she didn't get eaten by the prairie wolves? Sume's got that useless little brother of hers, and that student from number 2 high school. There's no way they could have escaped the wasteland easily. Did she use your sister as bait? Otherwise, how do you explain it? Father, calm down. Little sister's always been such a good girl. She'd never venture into a place like that willingly. Most likely, she was tricked into going with them, then kicked out of the team when danger struck, left to be used as bait, buying them time to escape. We're definitely getting even for this. Hearing his son's words, a cold glint flashes in Wu Xingchang's eyes. He gritted his teeth and asked, What do you plan to do? Sume and Su Xiaoqiang. These two think they can act recklessly just because Su Yongke is the Minister of Finance. They're so arrogant. Wu Xiong sneered, in 6 months tops. I'll have him removed from his position as Minister of Finance. And when that happens, these two brats will pay for their crimes with blood. As for that student from number 2 high school, I've already sent people to find her address. We'll have results by tomorrow at the latest. I'll start collecting the debt with her first. I want her entire family to bury my sister with them, early the next morning. Outside the East City Gate, Lin Xiun met up with Sume and her brother again. The 3 of them hit it off right away, deciding to test the waters first in the easiest dungeon, the Monk's Sanctuary. Dungeon tickets aren't cheap, are they? Lin Xiun looked at Sume and said, Don't worry, I've got everything arranged. Let's head out now. Then the 3 of them darted toward the east of the city. As soon as Lin Xiun stepped into the dungeon hall, a look of surprise crossed her face. There were way more professionals gathered here than she'd expected. Sume wasn't surprised by Lin Xiun's reaction. She nodded slightly and explained as they walked, compared to the wilderness, which is far away and full of dangers. Those unknown areas. Dungeons are a much more stable way for professionals to level up. Soon after, the 3 of them bought 3 regular dungeon tickets and headed for the entrance. But just then, a voice suddenly rang out from outside the crowd. Sume, how dare you steal my girl? Does your old man want to lose his job as the head steward? As soon as the voice sounded, Lin Xiun's face instantly turned pale. She turned to look, watching as the crowd parted, and 5 tall figures stepped out. Among them was a cocky young man, the very person she hated the most. "Kongming, you'd better make yourself clear. There's no girl of yours here." When Sume saw the mayor's second son, she frowned as well. Kongming pointed at Lin Xiun with one hand. "It's her," he said, a smirk spreading across his face as he looked at Lin Xiun. "There you are, Xiun, you little rascal. No wonder I couldn't find you in the starter zone. So you ran all the way here. Come here, come to me. I'll take you dungeon crawling later. Guaranteed to clear it, no problem." Seeing the way Kongming was acting, Sume turned to glance at Lin Xiun beside her and whispered, "Xiun, do you know him?" Lin Xiun shook her head. "He's been pestering me at No. 2 high school nonstop. And ever since I became a summoner, he's only gotten worse." I see. As soon as Sume heard Lin Xiun's words, she knew exactly what Kongming was up to. "Kongming, Xiun is my teammate. We're going dungeon crawling together, so you don't have to bother with us." At that moment, Sume stepped forward defensively. "You're just a level 15 regular warrior. How dare you brag about taking Xiun dungeon crawling?" Kongming scoffed. "Xiun, take a look at my teammates. Every single one of them is level 20, one step away from their second job advancement. We'll clear the monk's sanctuary without breaking a sweat. What future do you have following this useless woman? Kongming, I think you've got it all wrong." Sume snorted coldly and stood directly in front of Lin Xiun. Xiun's already completed her first job advancement. She's the one leading us to level up. As soon as the words left her mouth, the surrounding onlookers all changed their expressions in shock. What? Didn't they just finish their job advancement yesterday? And now she's already a first-tier advanced class? No way, that's insane speed. She's from No. 2 high school? Shouldn't this kind of talent be from No. 1 high school or those rich brats? Ha ha ha, Sume. That's the funniest joke I've heard all day. As the crowd murmured, Kongling burst out laughing. With that lousy skeleton she summons, she thinks she can clear a dungeon? If you're gonna lie, at least come up with a believable one. I'm done wasting time with you. Xiun, let's go. Sume had no interest in arguing with Kongling any longer. She grabbed Lin Xiun's hand and headed straight for the dungeon entrance. Seeing Lin Xiun really intended to leave, Kongling's face turned cold. "Lin Xiun, if you dare go into that dungeon with her, it'll be a death sentence for you. This isn't some kid's playhouse. I'll give you one last chance. Be my woman. I'll take you into the dungeon and help you level up faster than anyone else." Lin Xiun suddenly came to a halt, her pretty face cold as she stared at Kongling. "I, Lin Xiun, would rather die than ever be your woman. And I'm warning you for the last time. Stay away from me from now on. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." At those words, the 4 thugs let out a furious roar and moved to attack Lin Xiun. But Sume and Su Xiaoqiang stepped forward together, standing toe-to-toe with the 4 men. "I'd like to see who dares to lay a finger on her." Just then, Kongling suddenly scoffed, "Fine. Lin Xiun, we'll see how long that tough act of yours lasts." Seeing the 4 thugs didn't make a move, Sume shot Kongling a fierce glare, then dragged Lin Xiun over to the dungeon entrance. As their badges glowed brightly, the 3 of them vanished in an instant. "Master, are we just going to let them get away?" Watching Lin Xiun and the others disappear, one of the thugs couldn't help but ask, "Let them go?" "Absolutely not." Kongling smiled coldly. "I don't care what trick she used to level up so fast. But inside that dungeon, she'll soon find out how brutal the monk's sanctuary really is. Even the normal difficulty is way beyond the 3 of them. They'll never be able to clear it. I'll wait right here for her. When she comes crawling out of that dungeon, beaten and humiliated, she'll finally realize how valuable my offer was." Meanwhile, inside the City Defense Bureau Chief's mansion, news about Lin Xiun quickly reached Wu Xiong's ears. "You're saying she went into the dungeon with Sume and that little brother of hers? She's got some guts, I'll give her that. Xiong'er, in my opinion, it'll be hard to make a move on her while she's with Sume." Wu Xingqiang, standing nearby, thought for a moment and said, "We'd better split her from the others before we act." "Don't worry, father. I already know exactly what to do." Wu Xiong smiled faintly. "Keep watching her closely. Send some men to kidnap her family and take them to the outskirts of the city. Leave her a note. That way we'll have her right where we want her, separated from the others." The messenger nodded and prepared to leave. At that same moment, Lin Xiun felt a slight dizziness wash over her. When she opened her eyes again, she found herself in a dim, gloomy mountain forest. A dilapidated temple stood before them. Sume reminded them, according to the dungeon guide, we need to pretend to be pilgrims coming to burn incense and pray. The process has 3 steps. Worship the Buddha, burn incense, and pray for blessings. Worshipping the Buddha will trigger a wave of low-level mobs. They're relatively easy to deal with. Once we take them out, we'll be able to see the Buddha statue. After performing the full kowtow ritual, the incense burning segment will start. Here's the crucial part to remember. When the incense monk asks you a question, do you wish to pray for blessings today or tomorrow? You must answer tomorrow. That way, a second wave of mobs will spawn at nightfall. These will be the corrupted monks. We have to eliminate this second wave. Only then will the pre-quest for praying for blessings be activated. The abbot of the corrupted monks will come over pretending to thank us and lead us to the real prayer courtyard at the back of the temple. Once we get there, we can attack the corrupted monk, tear off his disguise to reveal his true form, take him down, and we'll clear the dungeon. After Sume finished speaking, she glanced at Lin Xiun and Su Xiaoqiang. Got all that? That's so complicated, Ji, said Su Xiaoqiang, scratching his head. Just tell me when we start fighting. Shut up! This is a dungeon! Not some place for you to run wild? If you act recklessly, we'll have to call it quits early. Lin Xiun hesitated for a moment and said, Sister Su, maybe I should summon him. And explain it to him again. Before she could finish, Sumi nodded her head. It's fine. I know he's special. After all, we're counting on this big shot to carry us through. Lin Xiun nodded. Then she cast her summoning spell right away. Her summoning magic. A summoning gate appeared, and then your figure emerged from it. So this is the dungeon. You looked around, noticing the scenery was a bit different, and muttered to yourself, Right, here's the thing. The dungeon we're in is called the Corrupted Monk's Sanctuary. It's a story-based dungeon. We have to follow specific rules to clear it, Lin Xiun said cautiously. Let Sister Su explain it to you. She'll tell you what to do and when. We'll need your cooperation later. Sume, standing nearby, took the initiative to walk you through the entire story sequence. At the end of her explanation, she also asked cautiously, Do you understand? You muttered to yourself, deep in thought. Is it really this much trouble? Burning incense, worshipping Buddha, and then having to stay the night just to get to the final part. By the time we're done, it'll already be tomorrow. Who's got the time for that? The final boss is that corrupted abbot, right? You turned around and pointed at the deepest part of the temple. He must be in there. Right? Sume nodded immediately. Yep, he's definitely in the back. But only by following the steps. Can we clear the mobs in waves? Otherwise, wait, what are you doing? Before Sume could finish, she watched as you strode straight to the half-open temple gate. Your pale skeletal foot lifted, and with one kick, you sent half the temple gate flying off its hinges. At that exact moment, a chorus of angry shouts rang out from inside the temple. Who dares to act so boldly in this sacred sanctuary? The group standing at the gate watched in shock. Through the mist, monks in tattered robes began to emerge one after another. There were easily over 100 of them, and more figures could be seen. Pouring into the front courtyard of the temple, your eyes lit up instantly. These monsters were even better than you had imagined. Even these low-level corrupted monks actually had as many as 4 traits each. One of them was even a green tier trait. First was basic martial aura, which boosted their max HP. At level 15, they already had HP comparable to a prairie wolf alpha. Basic staff technique need no explanation. Each one of them was wielding a pitch-black wooden staff. Demonic laugh could unleash a piercing shriek, forcing enemies to charge uncontrollably toward them. It was like a taunt ability, and the green tier trait, basic corruption, granted them a full 5% resistance to dark magic. Out of all these, only basic staff technique was useless to you. The other 3 were exactly the traits you wanted most. As you were thinking, watching the tide of corrupted monks surging forward, Sume and the other 2 were almost scared into forcing an exit from the dungeon. Sister Shiyun, can your skeleton warrior really hold them off? Su Xiaoqiang hid behind his sister, looking terrified. Maybe we should think about a backup plan. I don't know. Lin Xiyun's voice trembled on the verge of tears. She knew the skeleton warrior played by his own rules, but she never thought he'd be this reckless. Faced with this kind of army, it was hard for them to believe that the skeleton warrior could hold them off all by himself. But just then, they watched as you took a step forward, striding boldly toward the oncoming horde. your pale white teeth clicking together, as if letting out a gleeful laugh. This is way more efficient. You summoned 30 skeleton swordsmen right away. The 15 in the front line struck almost in unison. In the blink of an eye, their adamantine longswords pierced through the monks in front of them. Before the first wave of attacks even ended, the second wave from the skeleton swordsmen poised behind was already crashing down. After the 2 consecutive barrages of damage, the corrupted monks' staffs finally landed a hit on the skeleton warriors in front. The frontline skeletons shattered into pieces on the spot. But just as the skeleton swordsmen behind moved in for the third wave of attacks, your assemble trait activated at that exact moment. The broken skeletons pulled themselves back together, unleashing a fourth wave of attacks in an instant. At this rate, it wouldn't take many more rounds before all 15 corrupted monks were taken down. Lin Xun and the other 2 watched, utterly dumbfounded, their scalps tingling with shock. They'd never seen a skeleton warrior with such impressive tactical smarts. Meanwhile, you were muttering to yourself, the skeleton swordsman's power still needed some work. You'd have to keep upgrading their traits. Suddenly, a corrupted monk let out a hoarse roar, charging straight at you. Its staff raised high, coming crashing down hard. Lin Xun's eyes went wide as she shouted, "Watch out!" But it was too late. Too late. A loud crack echoed out. The staff slammed down, right on top of your skull. But to the trio's utter shock, that earth-shattering blow only dealt 50 damage points. Sumei's eyes widened. "Xun, what's his defense stat? How is the damage so low?" At that moment, Lin Xun wanted to cry. She was beyond frustrated. It sounded completely absurd. But she couldn't even check her summon's status screen. Instead, you simply swung your palm forward calmly. The corrupted monk, still roaring a moment ago, jerked violently. As your palm sent its head flying clean off, above its body, a terrifying number popped up out of nowhere. "Critical hit, 672 damage, no way." Sumei and Su Xiaoqiang exclaimed in unison. A single strike dealing nearly 700 damage. What kind of power was that? That meant his attack stat was nearly 300, maybe even higher. But he was just a skeleton warrior. This was totally insane. You raised an eyebrow, surprised by the damage number yourself. You remembered your attack stat was only around 260. Even with a 150% critical hit bonus, that shouldn't have been enough for such a crazy number. It must have been the green tier trait, concentrated power, giving you that extra power boost. And so, you charged straight toward the horde of corrupted monks, arms raised, swinging left and right. Each palm strike, instantly taking out a corrupted monk with a single blow. In no time, the dense horde of corrupted monks was wiped out completely. You obtained all the traits of the corrupted monks, and leveled up to level 24. The 3 dumbfounded onlookers also leveled up along for the ride. Meanwhile, in the passage leading deeper into the temple, a large swarm of floating figures was closing in once again. Watch out. These are the resentful monk wraiths from the second stage. They're in wraith form. They're immune to 70% of physical damage. Sumei's warning was crystal clear. She was telling you that your one palm one kill tactic probably wouldn't work anymore. But at that moment, you let out a laugh. They've got 1 fewer trait than the corrupted monks, but 2 green tier traits more than make up for it. Where else can you find such rare mobs? But then the distant resentful monk wraith suddenly halted. They stopped 100 meters away, then pressed their palms together, chanting something repeatedly under their breaths. And then something unexpected happened. The pitch-black, gloomy side halls on both sides of the temple, all their doors creaked open at once. A thick, cold gust of wind burst forth from both rows of side halls simultaneously. Then, pairs of ghostly green eyes flickered to life inside the halls. The 3 of them watched in shock. And then, they saw figures, pilgrims who'd come to worship the Buddha, floating out in their spectral forms. Their eyes were empty and glazed over, palms pressed together, chanting unknown scriptures over and over. They seemed to be controlled by the resentful monk wraiths, starting to stir back to life. "These are cursed disciples. These pilgrims died here a long time ago. Their souls were completely torn from their bodies, turned into puppets. Their attack and HP stats are way lower than the resentful monk wraiths, but their sheer numbers make up for it. When you add them all up, there are hundreds, no, thousands of them. And the worst part is, they're all in wraith form, with 70% physical resistance, but they take 10% extra damage from magic attacks. Jai, this is the story-based dungeon you were talking about? You said the mobs wouldn't be that many." Su Xiaoqiang was so scared he was almost in tears. Even if each of them just takes a bite out of me, I'd be done for. I originally thought we could just follow the script. Sumei's expression turned grim as well. But who knew the skeleton would be so reckless? After the resentful monk wraiths comes the final stage.
Shun.
We have to be ready to abandon the dungeon at any moment, she warned her earnestly. Your summon is strong, no doubt. But against wraiths with such high physical resistance, mages are the only ones who can deal real damage. And there are no mages in our party. Lin Xion glanced at the countless wraiths already surrounding you. She couldn't help but nod her head. She had to admit, her summon might have bitten off more than he could chew this time. But just as she was about to recall you and make a run for the dungeon exit, suddenly, a faint, ghostly green glow flickered in the dark sky above. The glow flared brighter and brighter. Right above your skull, a ghostly green fireball, bigger than a human head, materialized out of thin air, and then came crashing down. The ghostly green fireball exploded right in the middle of the wraith swarm, unleashing a terrifying wave of green flames that spread out in all directions. Wherever the flames touched, the wraiths didn't even have time to scream before they were incinerated into nothingness. But that was just the beginning. More fireballs of the same size came raining down one after another. In the blink of an eye, all the resentful monk wraiths were reduced to ashes beneath the flames. Watching this scene unfold, Sumei and the other two paid no attention to the leveling up glow flickering on their bodies. Their eyes were wide as saucers, all three of them staring in unison, fixed on the skeleton warrior standing tall and proud in the center of it all, standing his ground defiantly. He can use magic too? Su Xiaoqiang muttered after a long pause, still in a daze. What else can't he do? It was the first time Sumei had ever asked herself that question. At that moment, Lin Xion realized that she, who'd always considered herself pretty sharp, felt utterly foolish in front of you. Every time she thought you were cornered, you always pulled a new trick out of your sleeve. In a daze, she almost forgot you were just a skeleton warrior and saw you as a living, breathing person instead. Just then, a faint clattering sound snapped the three of them out of their shock. Inside the half-collapsed main hall, a figure slowly materialized. It was an elderly monk wearing a cassock, holding a monk's staff in his hand. He looked kind and benevolent, not a trace of the corrupted monk about him. Instead, a grateful smile spread across his face. He nodded slightly at the group. Pressing one palm together in a greeting, Amitabha, thank you, honored guests, for breaking the demonic illusion and restoring light to my temple. Honored guests, you are destined to be with the Buddha. Won't you come inside to have a chat? He made a gesture of invitation, but the next second, you raised your hand without hesitation and slapped him right across the face. The loud crack made the three behind you jump out of their skins. They almost hit the dungeon exit in a panic. Is he crazy? He just picked a fight with the boss directly? The monk's face was half crushed from the blow, but the smile never left his lips. He turned to look at you. Continuing calmly, won't you come inside to have a chat? You slapped him again, even harder. Before he could even lift his head, you landed a third slap right on his face. Quit the act, cut the crap. You're the boss, plain and simple. Why are you wasting my time with this nonsense? After landing several slaps in a row, the smile on the monk's face started to fade away. A furious roar ripped out of the monk's throat right in front of you. Before anyone could react, you got sent flying by a massive surge of force, tumbling dozens of meters away, crashing hard onto the ground. And from the billowing black smoke, a colossal figure, 15 feet tall, rose up. Oh no, that's the corrupted abbot's second form. How can normal difficulty have this? Sumei groaned inwardly. The aftershock of that roar alone had already drained over 200 HP from each of the three of them. They couldn't even imagine how much damage a direct hit would deal. You climbed back to your feet, staring intently at the boss's stats. Corrupted abbot. Second form, corrupted Vajra. Boss race Demonkin. Level LV30. HP 13,000. MP 4,500. ATK 580, 630. DF 25. Magic resist 15%. Traits. Ultimate martial aura green. Magic empowerment green. Advanced staff technique blue. Ultimate corruption blue. Demonic rune prison blue. Gazing at the three traits, glowing with brilliant blue light on the boss's body, you felt your wait had been totally worth it. Now this is more like it! Ha ha ha, you waved your hand with a laugh, summoning the 30 skeleton swordsmen once more. The skeleton swordsman charged forward in unison, rushing at the corrupted Vajra in a suicidal charge. But just then, your evil frenzy trait activated. The already charging skeleton swordsman saw their speed skyrocket in the blink of an eye. Before the boss could even react, they were already upon it. The clangs of swords slashing rang out continuously, even though each individual damage number wasn't high. The combined volley from 30 swordsmen instantly shaved nearly 1,000 HP off the boss. Just then, you felt a warm glow wash over your body. You turned your head to look and saw Lin Xiun chanting something with her staff raised. Blessing Light. Boosts HP regeneration rate and max HP overall. That girl's finally worth a little something. But after 3 rounds of attacks, the skeleton swordsmen were met with the corrupted Vajra's furious counterattack. One punch smashed the skeleton swordsman in front to smithereens. Not even giving them a chance to reassemble, the boss still had nearly 10,000 HP left. It then slammed its foot heavily on the ground, closing in on you at lightning speed. It lifted its monk's staff and swung it, striking down from the void like a phantom, heading straight for you. Instead of dodging, you charged right toward the staff. A suit of armor, as sturdy as a machine's plating, materialized around you in an instant, enshrouding your entire body completely in the blink of an eye. You raised your shield to block the blow. The staff collided with the shield, letting out a deep, dull thud. Seeing you only took 200 damage, you cracked a smile. Sure enough, the damage reduction from the heavy armor was even better than you'd expected. Before the boss could recover, you activated Swift Wolf Step. Your figure turned into a blurry afterimage, vanishing from your spot in an instant. Taking advantage of the moment the corrupted Vajra lifted its arm, you appeared right in front of it. A sharp sword aura burst forth, forcefully tearing through the boss's blocking fists and slamming into its abdomen. 1,000 damage. That high? The 3 onlookers were stunned by the damage number. This was a boss, with your attack speed boosted by 30%. You didn't hesitate to slash twice more. 2 more damage numbers popped up. One of them even triggered a critical hit. In less than a single second, you'd unleashed over 3,000 damage all by yourself. Just as you raised your greatsword for the 4th strike, clang! Your greatsword was blocked by the boss's demon-subduing pestle. You looked up just in time to see the monk's staff hurtling towards you like a blur. You activated Swift Wolf Step again. Your figure turned ethereal instantly, phasing right through the boss's body, reappearing directly behind it. You swung your sword twice more, knocking off over 2,000 more HP from the boss. At this point, the corrupted Vajra, which had started with 13,000 HP, was down to just around 5,000. Suddenly you threw your head back and opened your jaws wide, letting out a roar as you activated the skill. Soul Roar triggered. A soul-piercing roar echoed through the air, forcing the enraged corrupted Vajra to freeze for a split second. And in that exact moment, you struck once again. The corrupted Vajra, wounded repeatedly, had reached the peak of its fury. It slammed its free hands together palm to palm and unleashed a deafening roar at you. Countless pitch-black demonic runes writhing like living things, detached from its body, forming a colossal prison that trapped you completely inside. Demonic Rune Prison. This was the corrupted Vajra's trump card. The countless runes morphed into a cage of resentment, binding you tightly in place. What do we do? Lin Xiun hadn't expected this sudden reversal. She cast both of her support skills on you without hesitation, but it was to no avail. Meanwhile, Sume and Su Xiaoqiang beside her charged forward almost simultaneously. Xiaoqiang, flank it from both sides. It only has a little over 4,000 HP left. We can take it down. Su Xiaoqiang leaped into the air, lifting his longsword high, and brought it crashing down on the corrupted Vajra. But with a loud clang, his sword was blocked cold by the demon-subduing pestle. Sume's warning shout rang out from behind him. Su Xiaoqiang reacted instantly, darting backward and rolling away to safety. Behind him, Sume gripped her sword with both hands, letting out a sharp battle cry. Charged Berserker Slash. A streak of silver sword light cut through the air, striking the corrupted Vajra's arm with full force, but it only dealt a pitiful 112 damage. Sume hadn't expected that her full-powered skill would only inflict such a measly amount of damage. At that moment, she felt a dark shadow loom overhead. The massive monk's staff came sweeping toward her with a terrifying whoosh of wind. Her body was sent flying uncontrollably. That single blow alone had drained nearly half of her HP, but it had bought you a precious few seconds. Just enough time to turn the tide. Right then, you finally finished condensing a ghostly green fireball, which then exploded right above the boss's head, dealing nearly 1,000 damage once more. But this only served to enrage the corrupted Vajra further. With a furious roar, it swung its staff straight at your skull. Trapped by the demonic rune prison, you had no choice but to brace yourself and take this potentially fatal blow head-on. Lin Xiun and the other two squeezed their eyes shut almost at the same time.